I'll never forget the way the room changed. One moment, laughter echoed off the chandelier, champagne flutes clinked in the air, and people swayed to soft jazz. The next, it was like someone had sucked the oxygen straight out of the building. And the reason for that shift? Her. Emily. She snatched the mic from the MC's hand like she owned the night. Hell, like she owned me. Wearing that wine-red dress I bought her on our trip to Napa, she smiled. But it wasn't the smile I fell in love with. It was something sharp, weaponized. She looked right at me, that same smirk she used when she used to tease me in the kitchen, back when things were real. Only now it felt like a dagger pressed against my chest. I was with another man last night, she said, voice cold, steady, calculated, and you didn't even notice. Gasps. A few chuckles from people who thought it was a twisted joke. But I knew her. I knew when she was serious. And she was dead serious. I didn't say a word. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I just turned around, walked past her, past the guests frozen like statues, and stepped outside. The air hit my lungs like ice. I left her with one thing, a gift box, wrapped in silver paper with a crimson bell. It sat on the table behind her, right next to the champagne tower. When she opened it, someone screamed. I heard it from the driveway as I unlocked my car. I didn't turn back. Inside the box were two things, a manila envelope with every photo, every printed message, and every time-stamped betrayal, and a folded note that read, "Now everyone knows who you are. Enjoy the rest of your night, Emily." You want to know how it started? The unraveling? It wasn't the cliché lipstick on the collar or late-night texts. It was worse. It was the apathy. The kind that creeps in like mold and rots everything silently. 3 months earlier, Emily started coming home later than usual. No explanation. No warmth. The woman who used to kiss my shoulder when I worked late now barely looked up from her phone. Her password changed. Her smile disappeared. She claimed work stress. That's the excuse that always works, right? But she forgot one thing. I'm not an idiot. I noticed the new perfume. The carefully shaved legs on Tuesdays. The extra time spent in the gym. The phone that never left her side, not even in the shower. So I did what I never thought I'd do. I went through her phone when she left it charging at the kitchen counter one night. I wasn't looking for anything. I was looking for proof I was wrong. But God, I wasn't. His name was Jake, 26, gym trainer, and apparently a beast. Her words, not mine. They had nicknames, hotel receipts, voice notes. She even had the audacity to send him photos from our bed. That was the night something inside me died. Not just the love, the illusion, the belief that maybe, just maybe, she still respected me. She didn't. She spat on me every time she sent him another heart emoji. But I didn't rage. I didn't throw the phone. I didn't confront her. Not yet. No, I waited. Planned. I wanted the reveal to burn, not just her ego, but her entire mask. And I chose our anniversary celebration for the final act. The room full of friends, co-workers, family. Perfect. And as she stood there, arrogant, smug, proud of the humiliation she thought she orchestrated, I was already miles ahead. She thought she stabbed first. She had no idea I had already set fire to everything behind her. You want revenge? You don't scream. You whisper. And when they lean in to listen, you destroy them. I spent 3 weeks building the perfect trap. People always assume revenge is about rage, screaming, breaking things, storming out. That's emotion. What I wanted was impact. I wanted every lie she told to land like glass shattering at her feet. So I gathered everything. Screenshots, voice recordings, even security footage from our home cameras. I made a folder labeled Truth and copied it onto 2 USB drives, one for her, one for my lawyer. But I didn't stop there. I started smiling more around her, making dinner, complimenting her dress, even giving her space when she needed time to think. It made her relax, let her guard down. I watched her confusion grow day by day. She had no idea that I knew. That made it all the more satisfying. Emily thought I was stupid. She thought she could play me like a background character in her drama. She didn't know she was already standing on a stage I built for her downfall. The day of the party, I was calm, serene. Not because I forgave her, hell no, but because I knew I was about to take my power back. In front of everyone. The room was decorated beautifully. String lights draped across the ceiling. Soft jazz playing. Wine glasses catching the glow. Emily walked in like she owned the night, lips painted in that deep red shade I used to love. She kissed me on the cheek. I smiled. She leaned in and whispered, "You're actually smiling. That's cute." I almost laughed. If only she knew what was coming. People toasted to the perfect couple. Someone even made a speech about how love like this is rare. I stood beside her, nodding politely, tasting every fake compliment like acid on my tongue. And then it happened. She walked to the mic. I watched her heels click across the floor, slow and deliberate, like a villain in a movie scene. Everyone turned. Glasses lowered. The music faded. She grabbed the microphone, glanced at me, and with that same cold grin, said, "I was with another man last night." Pause. "And you didn't even notice." The room shattered into silence. You know what silence feels like when 50 people freeze at the same time? It's heavy, dense, like time stands still. And in that silence, I turned around, walked away. I didn't slam the door. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just left. And the only thing I left behind was a small, silver-wrapped box on the main table. Inside, the entire truth. Photos, messages, locations, dates, proof of everything she tried to hide. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the letter I wrote. In it, I thanked her for revealing who she truly was, for teaching me that love isn't blind, it's just deaf when it's too loyal. And I ended with a quote she once told me during our honeymoon. "You'll never have to worry about losing me." And now? She just did. I wasn't there to see her face when she opened it, but I didn't need to be. The silence said enough. The scream that followed, it rang out into the night like justice tearing through lies. My friend Kevin told me later, the whole room stood still, watching Emily unwrap the box like it was a birthday present. Her hands trembled before she even touched the ribbon. When she lifted the lid and saw the contents, photos, texts, a note in my handwriting, her skin turned a shade I'd never seen before. Somewhere between guilt and panic. Kevin said her jaw locked, her fingers froze, and then she dropped the box like it burned her. One guest, her cousin Melissa, gasped out loud and muttered, "Oh my God," he knew. Someone else picked up a photo and looked at her in pure disbelief. Emily's fake poise vanished in an instant. She ran, out of the hall, out into the night, in heels too high and dignity too broken. She didn't even say goodbye. And me? I drove away with the windows down and a strange feeling in my chest. Not joy, not even revenge, just clarity. After years of being gaslit, manipulated, played with, I was finally free. But don't get it twisted. The aftermath wasn't clean. The next day, she showed up at my place. Disheveled, barefaced. No more makeup, no more smugness. Just a woman caught in her own web, pretending to be confused. "Brandon," she whispered when I opened the door, "can we talk?" I let her stand there on the porch for a good 10 seconds. I watched her eyes, those same eyes that used to look at me like I was everything, now filled with panic. It was a strange satisfaction. "You can talk," I said, "but I'm done listening." She stepped in anyway, without waiting for permission. Classic Emily, boundaries never mattered when she wanted control. She sat on the edge of the couch like she was scared of it. "I know you're hurt," she began, "but you have to understand. Things have been complicated lately." I laughed. I actually laughed. "Complicated? You mean your extracurricular activities with a guy who probably can't spell commitment?" Her face twitched. I hit a nerve. She stood up, arms crossed, suddenly defensive. "You were never really present, Brandon. You were boring. Predictable. I needed more." There it was. The truth. No shame. No remorse. Just blame shifting. "You needed more?" I repeated, stepping closer. "You had everything. You just didn't value it." She rolled her eyes. "You act like you were a saint." "I didn't cheat," I said flatly. "That's enough." That shut her up. She tried to cry then. The fake tears. The ones she used on me when she wanted forgiveness for smaller lies. Only now I wasn't buying it. "You came here for something," I said. "You didn't just want to talk." She looked down. "Guilty. Jake kicked you out, didn't he?" Silence. I nodded. "Door's right behind you." And this time, I was the one smirking. 3 days passed before I heard from her again. This time, it was a text. Just 5 words. "Can we fix this, please?" I stared at it for a while. Not because I was considering it, but because of the nerve it took her to write it. The same woman who humiliated me in front of everyone, who stood there proud of her betrayal, was now asking for mercy. Fix what, exactly? The trust? The dignity she shattered in front of 50 people? The man I used to be before her lies corroded every part of me? I didn't respond. But she didn't stop. The next few days, the messages kept coming. Apologies. Justifications. Denials. Even a few voice notes where she cried and begged me to understand her state of mind. I didn't open them. I didn't need to hear her voice twisting facts into fiction again. Instead, I called my lawyer. Her name's Denise Carter, sharp, fast, and allergic to drama. When I walked into her office, she had already heard what happened. Turns out someone uploaded footage from the party. My little moment of truth had gone semi-viral in our social circle. "You ready to burn the bridge?" Denise asked me without blinking. I didn't even hesitate. "Burn it. Bury the ashes." The paperwork began. The moment Emily was served, I knew. I got a call, not from her, but from her sister Ashley, a woman who never liked me much until now. "She's falling apart," she said. "She didn't think you'd actually go through with it." I sighed. She thought wrong. Ashley surprised me. She told me things I hadn't known, how Emily had a pattern of self-destruction, how this wasn't her first time crossing lines, how even their parents were tired of covering up for her. "She doesn't value people, Brandon," Ashley said. "She values attention. And you stopped feeding that." That hit hard. Because I realized then, Emily never wanted a partner. She wanted an audience. And when I stopped applauding her, she found someone else who would. Jake was younger, louder, dumber. The perfect placeholder until he started asking for something real. And now? He was gone too. I won't lie and say it didn't sting. It did. Even after everything, the emptiness crept in at night. Our house was quieter, colder. Her perfume still lingered in places I didn't expect. Sometimes I'd catch myself staring at old photos, wondering how we got here. But every time doubt tried to crawl back into my chest, I remembered that moment on stage. That smug, venom-laced confession. That silence. That choice she made. And the man I used to be, the one who would have forgiven, who would have begged, who would have blamed himself, he was already gone. All that was left was clarity. And the slow but certain rebuild of someone who had nothing left to lose. It's funny how betrayal doesn't just break your heart, it breaks your reflection. For weeks after I filed the papers, I couldn't recognize the man in the mirror. He looked like me, sure. Same jawline, same tired eyes. But something behind the eyes was different. Colder. Sharper. Like the betrayal carved a new version of me out of the wreckage. People started noticing the change. At work, my boss Jordan pulled me aside one day and said, "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. You're focused, lethal. Lethal." Yeah, that's how I felt. Not in a violent sense, but in purpose, in clarity. I wasn't drifting anymore. I was moving. Every step I took now had direction. She took my loyalty and set fire to it. Now I walked through the smoke with a fireproof soul. But Emily? She didn't disappear quietly. She started showing up in places she knew I'd be. The gym. The cafe near my office. One time, even the grocery store where she damn well knew I shopped every Sunday morning at 9. At first, I thought it was a coincidence. The fourth time? It was calculated. She pretended to accidentally bump into me. Always looking disheveled. Always trying to spark a conversation I had no interest in finishing. One time, she actually said, "You look like you're doing better." "That's good, I guess." I didn't respond. I just nodded and walked away. And the more I ignored her, the more erratic she got. Then came the email. Subject: "Let's be adults about this." Inside, a bullet point list of reasons why we should reconsider the divorce. It was like reading a brochure for a broken cruise ship. "We've built a life together. It was just one mistake. I still care about you. You were distant for months." That last one made me laugh out loud. Because I was distant. After I realized I was being lied to every day by someone sleeping next to me, I had to be. I had to protect what little sanity I had left. But she twisted even that into ammunition. Classic Emily. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded the email to Denise. She called me 5 minutes later. "She's spiraling," Denise said. "Don't respond. Let her bury herself." I took that advice to heart. Because the truth was, this wasn't about closure. This wasn't even about me anymore. This was about a woman who couldn't stand to lose control. Who thought she could cheat, humiliate, and manipulate, and still win. But this wasn't her story anymore. It was mine now. And every time she tried to re-enter my world, she only reminded me why I had to lock the door and throw away the key. The last time I saw her, it wasn't planned. I was having dinner with a friend, Claire, someone I'd known from college. We weren't dating. Not yet. But there was peace in her company, and after months of emotional wreckage, peace felt like a luxury. We were seated by the window at a quiet Italian place downtown, laughing about something, honest laughter, the kind that didn't feel like a performance. Then I saw Emily. She walked in with a forced confidence, her arm hooked around a guy I didn't recognize. Tall, flashy watch, loud voice. Probably another Jake. Another temporary high to patch the bleeding. She saw me. Of course, she did. I watched her smile falter for a split second. It was fast, but I caught it. And then, like clockwork, she leaned into her date and laughed a little too loud, tossed her hair back a little too hard. Claire leaned in and whispered at her. I nodded. She's trying too hard, Claire smirked. She already lost. And that's when I realized Emily didn't miss me. She missed the control, the attention, the stage. What she didn't know was that I'd changed the script. After dinner, as Claire and I walked toward the valet, Emily stepped out too. Alone. Her date had gone to grab the car. She approached. Brandon, she said. Can we talk? Please. Claire excused herself to give us space, but I could feel her watching from a distance, arms crossed like a silent guardian. Emily looked thinner. Tired. Her eyes didn't have that arrogant gleam anymore. She looked like a woman trying to rewind a life she'd fast-forwarded through carelessly. I messed up, she whispered. I was stupid. I was selfish. I didn't think you'd actually walk away. You thought I'd beg, I said. You thought I'd crumble. She nodded, slowly. I guess I did. She reached into her bag and handed me something. A small photo album. Us. Vacations, birthdays, random Sundays. I look at this every night, she said. I miss what we had. I flipped through it. Page after page of memories that once meant something. I stopped at a photo of us at the beach. She was laughing, sunglasses on, hair tangled by the wind. I remember this day, I said quietly. You told me you'd never lie to me. She looked down. I never meant to hurt you. That's the problem, Emily, I said. You didn't care if you did. She opened her mouth to respond, but I was already done. I handed the album back. I don't need reminders of a lie. Claire stepped forward. Emily looked at her, then back at me. Her eyes flickered with something close to defeat. Then she turned, stepped into her date's car, and vanished into the night. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel broken. I felt free. Freedom didn't arrive with fireworks. It crept in like dawn, quiet, steady, undeniable. The morning after that final conversation with Emily, I woke up and didn't feel the weight on my chest. No dread, no rehearsed arguments in my head, no bitter loop of her voice echoing with lies. Just stillness. And for the first time in a long time, I let myself enjoy it. I got up, made coffee, opened the windows, and watched the sun cut across my living room floor. A year ago, I would have called this ordinary. But now, it felt sacred. People talk about healing like it's some grand revelation, some spiritual breakthrough. But mine came through routines, through silence, through remembering who I was before I became a man twisted by suspicion, by mistrust, by betrayal. I started running again, not from something towards something. I reconnected with friends I drifted from. Turns out, a lot of them had seen the red flags but didn't know how to say it. I didn't blame them. I probably wouldn't have listened anyway. I also started seeing Claire more. Slowly. No labels, no pressure. Just honesty. She didn't ask about Emily. She didn't need to. She gave me space to be angry, to be quiet, to be real, and not once did she try to fix me. That meant everything. One night, we were walking through a park, her hand brushing against mine, and she looked at me and said, You don't owe anyone an explanation for healing. I nodded, but something in her words stuck. Because for so long, I felt like I did owe one. To my family, who watched me break. To the people who witnessed that moment with the mic. To myself. But the truth is, some things don't need explaining. They just need to end. Emily reached out one more time. A letter, handwritten. She apologized. Again. Blamed her childhood. Her insecurities. Said she didn't know how to love someone who didn't hurt her first. It was poetic. Tragic, even. But it didn't move me. Because I realized I wasn't reading a letter meant for me. I was reading her confession to herself. I burned it. Not out of hatred, but because some stories don't deserve to live on paper. The divorce finalized quietly, without drama. Denise called me after and said, You're officially free, Brandon. I thanked her. Then I poured a drink, sat on the porch, and toasted to the man who survived being shattered and rebuilt himself without missing a beat. Because the truth is, betrayal doesn't define you. Response does. And I chose to respond with silence, with strength, and with the kind of dignity you don't have to announce with a microphone. She had her moment. Now I have mine. Looking back now, it almost feels like someone else's life. That man who stood in the crowd as his wife publicly humiliated him. The man who turned his back on a woman he once swore to protect, that wasn't weakness. That was rebirth. And everything that came after? The pain, the silence, the rage I swallowed for weeks? That was the shedding of old skin. People still ask about what happened. Not because they're nosy, but because they saw the shift in me. The version of Brandon that existed before that night was kind, yes, but naive. Always the one to believe the best, even when the worst was right in front of him. That version of me died when she grabbed that mic. You want to know what that betrayal taught me? Lesson 1. Love without boundaries becomes worship. I worshipped Emily. I made excuses for her behavior. I turned blind eyes to red flags that were practically screaming. I confused patience for virtue. But love, real love, isn't about losing yourself in someone else's chaos. It's about building something together, not sacrificing who you are to keep them happy. Lesson 2. People show you who they are when they think you won't leave. Emily got comfortable. Too comfortable. She believed I'd always be there. That no matter what line she crossed, I'd bend to her apologies, her fake tears, her charm. When I didn't, that's when she fell apart. Not because she lost me, but because she lost her mirror, her audience, her control. Lesson 3. Revenge isn't noise, it's absence. I could have exposed her more. I could have dragged her name through the dirt. But I didn't. I let the truth speak for itself. The silence I gave her after the party hurt more than any insult I could have thrown. She expected fireworks. I gave her emptiness. And that was louder than anything else. And finally, lesson 4. Your peace is priceless. No closure. No apology. No explanation could match the feeling of peace I get now waking up without her lies poisoning my mornings. She used to be the first thing on my mind. Now, I barely remember the sound of her voice. To the men out there reading this, hear me. If she lies, manipulates, cheats, mocks your pain, leave. Not tomorrow. Not after one more chance. Now. Because staying doesn't make you loyal. It makes you complicit in your own destruction. You deserve more than to be someone's backup plan. You deserve more than fake apologies and broken promises. I don't hate Emily. I just finally love me more. The mic drop wasn't hers. It never was. It was mine, when I walked away, with my head high, leaving only a gift behind. Let her live with the silence. Let her remember the man who didn't scream, didn't plead, but simply left and never looked back. That's not revenge. That's power.